Alright, so today we're going to be doing another reading of r slash Am I the Asshole? Because I'm pretty bored and need something to do. So, the first story we have here for today is probably going to be. Ooh, I like this one. Am I the asshole for saying 4 times the charm when my uncle talked about getting married again? On Sunday, we were meeting at my uncle's kind of pre Christmas meetup because one of my aunts had to leave today. I was with my dad and uncles in the yard, and my dad asked my uncle how his plans for getting married were going. So I should give some context here. My uncle's first marriage ended almost 2 decades ago. I have 3 cousins from that marriage whom I used to be close to, but their mom got custody and we rarely see them. Then around 8 years ago, he got married to a woman overseas, brought her here. She already had a guy here. She called the cops on him for some made up thing, and when he came back from a night in jail, she left. This is what I've heard. I was in college, and the marriage didn't even last one term for me to have to come back home and meet her. It lasted a week, I think. Then 3 years ago, he got married overseas again, and this time her parents changed their mind, so they got divorced while there. Naturally, I never met her either. So when my dad said that, I looked at my uncle and asked him if he was really looking to get married again. He said, yeah, that he thinks he needs a partner in life. I just, without thinking, said, fourth time's a charm. My uncle didn't take it well, while my other uncle found it hilarious. I'm pretty sure my dad did too, but he was being diplomatic about it. Today, my mom told me that my uncle had told my dad that it was really rude and disrespectful of me to say what I said. She said just to apologize to him when we see him on Christmas. I said, sure, whatever, I'll apologize. This uncle has always been a fun uncle who would hang out with us cousins, so I thought he could take a joke, but I'll apologize, sure. But was I the asshole? I you kind of are in this situation, but it was really funny. So I think it's a joke, and he probably could have taken it better, but it was also kind of your fault for saying that joke. So he has a reason to be angry. I think I'd be pretty angry too if I heard someone say that to me. So you probably could have communicated with him better too, in my opinion. Anyways, let's get on to the next one. Let's have a look. Okay, this story is pretty nice. Am I the asshole for telling my ex that she needs to figure it out when it comes to hosting people for her grandmother's funeral, even though I am living in her grandmother's house? My ex and I got divorced earlier this year. When we were married, we bought her grandmother's house. This house was built in the 1910s and had been in my ex's family since then. It is quite large. It was a de facto house where my ex's family would stay when they came into town for anything. This continued into our purchase of the house and was a part of my decision to divorce her. When we bought the house, it was primarily used my premarital savings and inheritance. That was 5-ish years ago when we got divorced. The court determined that the bulk of the house, 90%, belonged to me in accordance with our post-up agreement. My ex tried a number of scenarios where she would keep the house or it would go into a trust for our kid, so it would stay in the family. The only thing I would agree to is selling the house to her, buying me out, or me buying her out. We went with the latter because my ex did not have the money to buy me out. The day after Christmas, my ex's grandmother died. She had been sick for years, and the reason we bought the house is because she could no longer live on her own and desperately needed money for end of life care. Anyway, yesterday afternoon, my ex's cousin shows up at the house with his family. He drove into town for the funeral on Thursday. Apparently, he and his sister texted my ex and said that they would be staying at the house, and she indicated that she was okay with that. I called my ex and asked her why she volunteered my house for hosting people. She apologized and said she had been running around getting things done for the funeral, but she asked if I'd be willing to host because they really do not have space for people without using the house. I told her no, and that they need to get hotels or whatever else arrangements. She said they do not have the money to get everyone hotels and people are struggling financially. That there's plenty of extra room in the house. They could just be finished in the finished basement with their own bathroom, kitchen, entry, and exit. I told her no. She got quite upset and hung up on me. I told the cousin and his family that they cannot stay. Am I the asshole? So there's a few other edits here. So I'll read those real quick before saying my opinion. The first edit says, people seem to be assuming the house was discounted to us when we bought it. It was not. It had been on the market for a year, and the price had been decreased multiple times with no offers for the listed price at any point. We bought it for the initial price it was listed for, which was the appraisal price. The second edit said, my personal preference was that my ex buy me out of the house. She did not have the money to do so. My next preference was to sell the house. My ex begged me to keep the house, so I agreed to do so. Edit 3 said the trust idea she had would mean putting the house into a trust with a life estate to me and the remainder to my son. This would effectively prohibit me from selling the house. I have no intention of selling now, but I refuse to put myself in a position where I cannot sell in the future if I decide I need to do so. I do have a trust for my son now, where he will inherit my assets at the time I die. So, I don't think this guy's the asshole, because he paid for the house with his money, apparently. And, well, it's his money, his house. So his ex shouldn't really get to dictate what he does with it, whether he sell it, put it into a trust, or anything like that. And it was also a really bad thing of the ex to do, to just give up his house to her family just because it was still quote unquote their family house, even though it wasn't. All in all, this guy is perfectly in the right here, in my opinion, and he should just cut off all contact from this ex. Unless it's just for co-parenting. She shouldn't have to talk to her at all, in my opinion. So, on to the next one, I guess. This is a kind of short one. This person says, am I the asshole for not letting my kids have grandparents? So, for the last 3 years, my 7-year-old boy has not known his grandparents, and in my opinion, it is for a good reason. So, unfortunately, on my side of the family, both of my parents passed away, and so we are only left with my husband's parents, but 3 years ago we decided to cut them off due to their nature of being so opinionated and always seeing a negative in anything we did with our son and how we raised him. Nothing was good enough. It wasn't just that there have been several issues, and quite frankly, I was so sick to death of constantly trying to please them and nothing ever being good enough that we just decided to cut them off, as every argument led to big issues on their side and we always had to make an effort. So, to protect my child and our peace, we cut them off. May I say, this was at least the third time we had done this, but this time I was done for real. Fast forward 3 years, they are now texting us looking to see our son and our new baby girl, saying that they are getting old and life's too short. My issue is falling back into that same issue, and the trust will never be the same, as I don't believe they have changed, and I don't want to go back in time with my decision yet. My mind is telling me that it's unfair to keep them away, but they were so toxic, it's why we blocked them out to begin with. They also have 6 other grandkids that they're also not involved with them due to my husband's siblings cutting contact, so this isn't a new thing. It's a trend apparently, but feelings run my life, so it's hard for me to when they give me a sob story and I start to doubt my decision entirely. Advice is appreciated. You aren't the asshole for doing this because they're your children. Your in-laws, they're not their children. So if it's for the kids' well-being, I would say keep cut contact just for that reason. But other than that, I think maybe if you want to try and compromise, you could probably set up meets with them like occasionally, like every Christmas or something like that. Have your kids at least try and see them if they want to on their own accord. But the in-laws are definitely in the wrong here. I feel like no one should try and be rude and make a sob story about how they would need to see their grandkids that badly if they were rude to begin with. All right, let's go on to the next one. All right, this story is kind of random in my opinion, but it's kind of funny too. This person asked if they're the asshole for leaving their mom at the airport with no ticket and no plan. This still weighs on me. Some background. My mom was abusive growing up. It got bad enough that at 12 I left home through the courts and moved in with my dad. That decision fractured our family. On the court paperwork, under name of child, she wrote something like I have no son. I've carried that with me ever since. I've had little contact with her after that, briefly at 17, again in my early 20s, and not consistently until much later. I'm now almost 40. I spent over 20 years drinking heavily and finally got sober in 2018, which is when I made an effort to reconnect with my family, including my mom. She's closer to 70 now and has zero contact with two of her three kids. Reconnecting wasn't easy. When I asked if she ever reflected on the abuse, she told me I was an adult and needed to let it go already. That was a turning point. I realized any forgiveness would be one sided. If I wanted peace, it was on me. Since then, our relationship has been rocky, but present. We've had family reunions and even traveled overseas together for 3 weeks. We argue often, usually over small things, but we stayed in contact until this. Sorry. Last summer, I invited her to my city to see a band she's loved since I was young. The plan was simple. She'd arrive on Wednesday, we'd go to the concert on Thursday, she'd fly out to visit my sisters on Friday, and I'd leave early Saturday for my own trip. She agreed. When she arrived, she mentioned she only brought a one-way ticket and would book the Friday flight later. That made me uneasy, and I reminded her several times to make sure it was booked. I thought I was clear in my wording and tone that I didn't want anyone staying in my house while I was gone. Friday came, the concert was fine. Then she told me that she still hadn't bought a plane ticket, and now, with prices having gone up, she planned to stay for a few extra days while I was away. I told her plainly, I'm leaving at 5 a.m. tomorrow. You need to get on that plane. I even offered to cover the extra cost. She refused and invited herself to stay at my place. That's when I clearly said I wasn't comfortable with anyone staying in my house while I wasn't there. She accused me of not trusting her, and she said she was my mother. I said it wasn't just about trust. I just didn't want anyone in my house. The argument escalated. Finally, she said, "Fine, take me to the airport." I think she expected me to cave. I didn't. I packed the car, grabbed my daughter, and drove her to the airport in silence. When we arrived, it felt like a standoff, like she was waiting for me to say, "Never mind, don't go." I didn't. I took her bag out, set it on the curb, and told her, "If you can't find a ticket, let me know. I can help you pay for a hotel." Then I left. Months later, I'm still thinking about it. I don't think I stranded my mom with no options. I offered to cover the cost of the flight and hotel, but I did leave her at the airport knowing she didn't book a ticket. Am I the asshole? Personally, I don't think that this person is the asshole solely because they told their mother like 20 times to book a ticket and she still didn't. And also their mom just seems like a complete douchebag completely just from the story alone. But I honestly wouldn't have even gotten back into contact with this person. Um, Anyways, let's go on to the next story. We're actually going to take a little pause here because I actually don't know what to build. I actually think, you know what? I kind of want to clear that house over there. Hold on. Let me just check my chickens first, and then I'll do some stuff. Okay. Relatively easy. Please don't get out. Okay, okay, okay. There's no eggs in there. What the hell? Alright, let's go have a look at this house. Okay, I think that was a pretty nice time lapse. What do we think? I don't know if you've gotten this far. Go ahead and leave a comment. Thought it was pretty cool ASMR. Uh, Anyways, let's get on to the next story. Right, this one caught my eye just for the title. This person's asking, am I the asshole for not making my daughter switch back a gifted Labubu with her younger cousin after her uncle found out the one my daughter gained in swap is rare with a high resale value? Throwaway because my family is on Reddit. This happened over Christmas and it's turning into a whole family drama. So my daughter Sophia and her cousin Martina were gifted blind box Labubus as part of their Christmas gift from my other sister Sarah. They each opened their boxes, and Martina got a brown one and Sophia got a pink one. Martina immediately wanted the pink one, and Sophia immediately offered a trade because she already has the pink one and was hoping for the brown one. They traded, both the girls were happy, and that was that. Or so I thought. Later, Martina's parents found out from talking to someone that the brown Labubu is apparently a rare secret version that we can sell for over $250. Once they learned that, they called me, said the girls needed to switch back, and that Sophia was to return the brown one immediately. They even wanted me to drive over with it then and there, despite the fact that they live an hour away and it was already 8 p.m. I asked if Martina was actually wanting the brown one back. They said that wasn't the point, and after some pushing back, Jose admitted that someone was willing to pay him $225 for the brown one and give Martina the pink one she wants. I said I wouldn't force Sophia to swap back. From my perspective, both kids were happy with the trade and got the Labubu they wanted. Sophia didn't pressure or manipulate Martina into switching. If so, I would have stepped in immediately and told her you get what you get and you don't get upset. When I asked her, Sophia admitted she knew the brown one was rare, but when I asked how much they sell for, she said they are blind boxes, so you can't buy the brown, they just make less of them. She didn't know it was worth money. She's not a good liar, and she appeared to be telling the truth. Martina originally didn't want the brown one and basically got upset when she saw Sophia got pink. Sophia. It feels like Maria and Jose only want the brown one back because they can sell it and pocket money from it. Now they're upset with me and saying I'm being unfair and taking advantage of a 6-year-old, and Jose even called Sophia a manipulative bitch, which I think is a reach, when Sophia didn't know it was worth a lot of money. She just knew they were rare to pull, that she already had the pink and Martina was crying for the pink one. Sarah has said that this is stupid parent drama and that she's staying out of it and we can sort it out ourselves. So, am I the asshole for refusing to make my daughter give the brown Labubu back? Oh, there's an edit before I give my opinion. Jose called Sophia a manipulative bitch to me on the phone, discussing it, not to Sophia's face. He'd be a dead man walking if he said it to her. It was about an hour before making the post, and I hung up on him for it, and he has not been yet addressed. My wife and I will obviously be addressing it. Okay, that's the edit. No, that's your Labubu, bro. Yeah, you can keep that. They don't need that Labubu. They never did in the first place. They just want the money. And if they're in it for the money, then that's not the right business to be in. So, yeah, I would not be giving that back. And they just seem like really rude people in general. So, and they actually seem like they're the manipulative ones too. Yeah, you are definitely not the asshole here. It's a funny one. Alright, on to the next one, I guess. So before we do another one, I just wanted to mention the roofing issue here. So when I was flying over it earlier before I filmed, I realized it was a very flat roof and it just didn't look too good in my opinion. So that's why I'm kind of changing it now. I want a slanted vibe. I want more of an actual roof rather than just flat space. I think it would look a lot better if I raised it up a couple blocks, maybe added some depth. So we're gonna just have a look and see how it feels. Okay, for this next story, we've got some coworker drama, which should be fun. This person is asking if they're the asshole for telling their coworker that she needs to manage her time better. They are a 20-year-old female and work at a small hotel as a front desk employee. Due to being a student, they can only work part-time, so 3 to 4 days a week during breaks, 2 to 3 days during school. One of my coworkers, Abby, 21, also works as a front desk employee, but she works full-time. I find her nice to hang around with, and we became somewhat close, but due to our schedules, we don't really hang out outside of work. Besides us, there are 3 other employees working the front, with 2 of them having an overnight shift and the third being part-time as well. The issue I have to my coworker is that she keeps on asking me to cover her shifts, a lot. Every single week, she texts me to cover her shift because she forgot a plan, isn't feeling well, or something else. I sometimes take her shifts if I can, or at least trade shifts. However, she asks me so frequently I actually get pissed off. She also occasionally asks my other coworker, but she always rejects Abby, so Abby stopped asking her. Last week alone, she asked me to work her Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday shift. I rejected her because I was out of town and also requested Sunday off. Last month, she asked me like 5 times. Yesterday, she texted me again asking why I keep refusing to cover her shifts, and if I'm being honest, I was already in a terrible mood, and Abby asking me this only made me more angry. I tell her that she needs to stop asking me to work her shift so much because she's asking me weekly and I don't always have time to cover for her. She tells me that she just had plans and the schedule doesn't accommodate her all of the time. I tell her to request off, cut her hours, or talk to the manager. This is where she gets really pissed off and starts ranting me about how she's struggling to pay for her car and has to deal with her boyfriend, family, and pets. I tell her she just needs to manage her time better, which she leaves me unread. In hindsight, I was pretty pissed off and should have been more careful about what I said. I feel guilty, but at the same time, manage your time better? So, am I the asshole? This person is not even close to being in the wrong. Like, if you're asking your coworker to take over your shift like multiple times a month, and to the extent that this person is talking about, honestly, I would have reported them to like HR or my manager just to see if I could get them fired so they'd stop asking me so damn much. But all in all, I don't think this person is in the wrong at all. And honestly, I think they should go talk to their manager or whoever their boss is about this issue so they could try and get it resolved at least before she loses even more of her time and patience. Anyways, let's keep going. This next one is kind of short. It's this person asking if they're the asshole for not getting their friend a present for his birthday. I've known him for about 3 years. He always asks for money every once in a while, and of course, as his friend, I'd send it. But yesterday was his birthday, and he requested money from me twice on Cash App, then proceeded to text me telling me to give him money. The problem isn't about having the money or not. It's just that he always receives and never gives, along with promising he'd pay me back soon. Am I wrong for not buying him anything this year? No, not at all. um, if he's always gonna like just take your money and not give you anything in return, I would just honestly stop being friends with him because he's not benefiting you in any ways. He's not like he's actually like having a negative effect on you instead of benefiting you. He's taking your money. And in the long run, this person is not going to be a good friend to you. He's going to just keep on taking your money. So, yeah, I would not advise you to stay friends with this person. Yeah, that's it. Okay, finishing touches, everything looks good. I think I'm gonna end things off after finish the build. Just gotta put a couple more stairs down and then we'll be done. One right there. Yeah, and the other one right here. Okay. Alright, I think that's where it's gonna end. See you guys next time. If so, bye bye.